and then you spend hours and hours and hours putting the thing together. And at the end of it, you've maybe garnered $7,000 to $12,000, of which you have spent $7,000 to $12,000 of time to get.
Let's move from grants to the other sources of funding. So when we're talking about the subscriber model, the private dollars, the foundations that also go into the patchwork of funding a theater, what are the advantages of that sort of model that is the main model of Canadian and North American theater?
Well, it is the main model. There are advantages. So let's take them one at a time. You said foundations?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a number of foundations that will give money to the arts. Some will give very little, some will give a ton. So here's the way it usually works. You're in a small org, you turn around, you say, hey, let's get some of that foundation money. So the first thing you have to do is you have to get access to the listings of foundations. So you drop your $1,000, $1,500 to get access to this thing for a year, because you've got that to spare. And then you look and you look and you look and you look, and there's foundations all over the country. It feels like 90% of them are location specific, so they don't apply to you in Toronto. And then which are the ones which will actually give to the arts? And then you look and you say, okay, there's like these handful, and then you spend hours and hours and hours putting the thing together. And at the end of it, you've maybe garnered $7,000 to $12,000, of which you have spent $7,000 to $12,000 of time to get.
Right.
So we stopped doing that. The big foundations, the ones whose names you will see on theaters and in the highest categories of the major regionals, those foundations, they don't even have an application process. You cannot get to them. If you don't know somebody who knows somebody, if you don't have somebody who knows that family and bigs you up to them, you have no way of getting to that money. So having somebody say, oh, we're going to ask you for $100,000, you don't get it. The $2.8 million to build your endowment fund, you're not going to get it. So you don't have that generally, as if you're not one of the large, well-connected theater companies, and you really don't have that if you are a non-white company, right?
Yep.
There are companies which have been founded on knowing the right people. It's not Obsidian, but have been founded on that and eschewed government money for 3, 4, 5 years because their private donations were so high. And there's some people who can leverage that in a great way. It has never been a workable thing for Obsidian. Primarily, the Black communities are more inclined to put money into education and the like, as opposed to the arts. So we've never had big money success. We had luck at Metcalfe and getting some interns and things, which were great. Metcalfe is one of the foundations that has really walked the walk to help people. But it's the other ones are so small. They're just so small, and to do so much work, and you're really gratified that you're getting $1,800, right? So that's the way that life is. depending on what other modules you have in your company, if you're a non-white culturally specific theater company, if you have a real education model or something like that, you can often try to get partnerships and money around that. We were lucky. We got on. TD really was our biggest supporter. They have grown the money that they give Obsidian exponentially. It's huge. And they've been the main reason that we've been able to grow in any sustainable form. However, early 2000s, there were a number of places you could go. You could go to banks, you could go to insurance companies, you could go to brokerage firms, right? All of these places gave money and donated to the arts. And as things went along, people would say, you know, you're getting money from, I don't know, one bank, you can't go to another bank. So then you would go, that's okay, I'll go to this brokerage house, I'll go to the insurance company, whatever. As the financial consolidation within that industry, now all of a sudden, the banks own the brokerage, own the insurance companies, and so there was this incredible contraction, if you will, in the market. So it wasn't like you just couldn't go to another bank. You couldn't go to virtually anybody else in the financial sector. So all of a sudden that road got really limited. And yes, there is a bunch of, you know, reasonableness from the banks. If TD's giving you money, then, you know, BMO might give you money. But you're working this constant game about how do you represent the people who've donated to you and not offend your partner's bank, right? Or we were down at Harbourfront one year and they were sponsored by a different bank, and therefore none of our material could be put throughout Harbourfront, which was one of the reasons about being at Harbourfront, right, was getting that kind of mass coverage. Well, it didn't work. So the consolidation in the industry has really narrowed the areas by which corporate money is going. And I mean, you know, then you get down to individual donors. And we've had some great individual donors over the years. And you know, we've grown them to a good amount of money. But you know, we've had people who've given us, I don't know, $100, $200 a year virtually since we started, right? And those kind of donors are gold. I got a great letter from one of them the other day, and I mean, this guy has been donating to Obsidian since Jump, and I met him last October for the first time, right?
Yeah.
So, but donor management is huge. It's, if you look at most of the large regional or festival theaters, and you just go sometime and take a look at their development department. Development, I don't know why they don't call it, I don't even know what development means. It's the get money department,
yeah,
right? You look at that and you go, oh my Lord, look at all these people. But client management is an art. It is tricky. One of the best things I learned was somebody said, somebody will give you money and you get them up from $1,000 a year to $20,000 a year, right? Here's the truth. The more money somebody gives you, the less it takes for them to get pissed off and leave. So, and when they go to their next organization, they won't start down at $1,000 a year. All those years of work that you submitted a month, somebody else is going to start getting the benefit of that. So that kind of client management is is almost beyond the capability of smaller companies, right? You don't even have human resources to do the shows at the level you want to do. So how are you going to hire 2-3 people to client manage?
So would you say that the subscriber and private donation model really just favors large theaters because they can put the resources into it?
Yeah, well, more importantly, they control a box office. Anytime that you're using other people's box offices, you are now reliant on their goodwill, or as we like to say, nothing, to build, to work a subscription model. The box offices aren't going to do that. They just aren't. And how do you build a subscription model that would work for if you're producing at 3 different venues? And then what does that take out of your ticket fee or your ticket price? Because every venue has a capital improvement fee or a management fee or whatever of $1.50 a ticket. So by time you take your subscription money, which is already a reduced amount, and then you're going to pay like $4.50 over 3 different box, it's never going to work. The Privacy Act won't let, a lot of box offices won't even give you the contact information of the people who are coming to see your show, because they say the Privacy Act won't allow that. So how do you build your base to get to a subscriber, to build your donor base? You're pooched. We had a situation once where we thought, okay, we're going to give back to the community, and especially kids, right? Like, and if you're looking a lot of times, if you're trying to bring Black kids in and inner city kids in, they got no money, right? So even a $15 ticket is not possible. At one point in one of our shows, we said, okay, we're going to build in a $5 ticket. A $5 ticket. The box office fees on that $5 ticket meant the box office was getting 40% of the ticket price. So how has that become a revenue generator when, on top of paying full price for rental, if they happen to be an IA training house, you get to pay IA, training house rates, and you lose 40% of your box office.
It adds up.
Yeah, well, it's not a workable model. I mean, it's not like you've got. It's not like you've got 100% a box office anyway. I mean, at Obsidian, I would budget for 35%. So take 40% away from that, and now your box office is minuscule. Every once in a while, you end up with a massive hit, right? Which makes you enough money to meet your budget projections, but not enough money to make the show profitable. All you've done is make budget. Sometimes you've exceeded budget by 30, 40%. But at the end of the day, you're still running a deficit on that particular production, which is where government monies come in to help fund you. And so that gives you the base. You turn around and you say, all right, this year I'm going to program plays that are really accessible, maybe get into a musical, a comedy, whatever. You're going to program some of that stuff. And then people bitch at you, oh, why are you doing that? You're selling out, people who have never donated a dime to the company, but they're happy to tell you how to run it. And you do that, and you carefully plan over 4 or 5 seasons. You build up an accumulated surplus And then you turn around and you say, all right, now I'm going to do these particular shows, the challenging shows, the ones that you're going to end up, if you're lucky, with like $6,000 of gross box office on. Shows that you might really love, shows that you believe need to be produced and seen. But those are built on the backs of the more accessible plays. That is no different than larger places like the festival theaters, where the main stage shows have to be the box office driver to help financially support all the shows in the studio. You can't have one without the other. You can't have a main stage show that's doing 40% box office because your season, your budget is broke. It's busted. So there has to be an understanding of how the financials work. And I mean, I'm talking a lot from the independent, point of view, but I look at the companies that get venues, and then all I see is this frantic kind of energy to do everything and anything to keep money coming in, because now they have a massive overhead. Now they've got costs that don't go away. And all of a sudden, it's less about the art or anything. It's more about feeding the building. And they say, after you build a new space, it's the third and fourth year that you're open that the problem comes in. Because up until then, everybody's been fascinated by the new shiny puppy. And after year 3 or 4 you've opened, a lot of donors go, yeah, well, I've done my part. I'm going to move on and help somebody else.
Yeah, right. You got the space, and now you're done, right?
Yeah. And so the somebody else is great. They're like, oh yay, we got these guys. The people that have left, they're gone, oh my God, we got, X number of thousands of dollars shortfall on our revenue line. We're a little bit addicted and hooked on government monies, which is like any addiction, as any heroin addict will tell you, is an upper and a downer. And my big fear actually going forward is next season, or the season we're in right now, 2021, everybody has agreed to keep funding levels the same. So no up, no down. I think it's 21, 22, 22, 23 where the train is going to hit the boulder. Because let's face it, governments have had to mortgage my great-grandchild's future, and they're going to start looking at how to balance if not balance the books. I don't think anybody thinks about balancing the books, but they're going to look at how can they pare down. And arts is going to be an easy place to cut back on. I could say that a lot of people that I know on CERB tell me it's the most financially stable they've ever been in their career. And if you're maxing out your CERB and the $1,000 net add-on to that, that means you're making $36K a year. That ain't much. So, and that's $36K gross. Y'all got to take like what, 20-25% off of that for taxes. So yeah, I mean, I think the CERB is great. I mean, I think in many cases it would be better if that was made permanent, or there was a permanent payment for people, because people are sacrificing their most productive earning years for their art. And think nobody, I like to say, if you're not careful, you're looking at a cat food retirement. And that ain't great. And I'm going to be really honest with you, man. This is my first month that, today I do not have a check from Obsidian. And all of my directing work has been pushed a year or gone forever. And no, I do not feel like I should be out there getting on a film set, right? Because I'm kind of in the most at-risk category.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, money and not wanting to outlive my money becomes a very important thing. And, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I didn't listen to me either. Right? I wouldn't. I mean, why would you? I'm 20. I can do what I want. And I did. So, but it is something to consider. And when I sit down, and I mean, I have friends who come over or people that I kind of mentor and stuff, and we sit on my porch and have tea, and I look and hear brilliant, smart people in their mid-30s. And now starting to kind of go, wait a second, is this it? Right? So the CERB is, I mean, I think everybody should have that kind of guaranteed income, because it's not that much. And another thing, and the other thing too, because a lot of people, sort of are against this because they feel that somebody is getting a free ride or whatever. And I don't know how many times you have to explain to people that if you're poor, you're not saving this money. If you're poor, all of that money that you get is going out and is actually circulating and buying things because you need to survive. So it's not like everybody's saying, oh, I got $3,000 this month, I'm going to stack $2,800 away.
Yeah.
It's not that. And the difference is that you start off taking risk, doing edgy theater for your art. At around year 7, survival of the company now becomes paramount. And you don't even realize it until you look at some of the decisions you're making and you go, oh, no. If we spend that much money in this project, we've got the office now.